And for all the reasons that you talked about earlier, my tolerance level for dishonesty, for abuse of power, for bullying is zero. And I don't care if you're 6'9", like I'll fight you. I don't care.
I really had a hard time with my managers at Bombardier. I called them out on their bullshit.
Tough to keep a job when you're doing that.
Well, a lot of supervisors just, yes, man, Bob Dad, yep. I'm like, no, you're an idiot. This is why. And even my yearly reviews, my supervisor is saying, Phil, if you just play nice to the manager, you would get a bigger bonus or a pay raise. And I'm like, I can't be bought. I'm sorry. He's an idiot. I can't sugarcoat that shit. So I'm amazed I lasted that long.
This show is sponsored by ShopVeteran.ca and the Canadian Legacy Project. Are you a veteran who owns a business? If so, register your business for free on ShopVeteran.ca. Or, if you would like to support veteran-owned businesses, be sure to make ShopVeteran.ca your first-stop shop. Thanks, everybody. Hello, all you beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Operation Tango Romeo, the Trauma Recovery Podcast. Now, for anybody who's watching this that did some time in the Balkans, trigger alert, we're probably going to be poking some bears. So if you're not in a place where you can go back to the Wayback Machine and relive some of the stuff, maybe skip this one. Because I got Phil on the show here, and he's a guy that I've been wanting to talk to. First, I was been trying to track down who the hell he was for years, and then I saw a post on Facebook. I went, that's the frickin' guy I've been looking for. Because we, well, you're about to find out what it is that we share. Phil, brother, thank you so much for being here, man.
My pleasure.
Well, if a Royal and a Patricia can get along, then, hey, there's hope for the world.
Just throw Van Du in the mix and we're screwed.
Yeah. And we'll make, yeah, that might be a problem. I promise not to mention anything about chickens, and you don't call me a pickly, and we're good. That's just fair.
No promises.
That's an inside Canadian Army joke. But, brother, you were on Roto 5 for Croatia. So, like me, all the time people go, oh, what was it like in Bosnia? I wasn't there. We're next door. We're on the coast. There was a series of wars. So, for the audience, it's going to lay some ground for you, paint a bit of a picture. The former Yugoslavia dissolved into a bunch of different nation states. And the first one really to go was Croatia. But that war kicked off a whole series of other wars, including down in Kosovo. And basically everybody wanted to be independent. So Croatia said to Yugoslavia, nope, we're out. We don't like you. You don't represent us. We're going to do our own thing. And to do that, they killed a pile of people, a whole lot of Serbs and a whole lot of Muslims, a whole lot, thousands and thousands and thousands. And we were invited by the United Nations to go do the worst job possible, which is to go there and stand in between the warring factions and go, now, put those guns down. No more fighting. And if they didn't listen, we took their guns from them. If they didn't listen, we kicked open their doors and raided their headquarters and stopped the vehicles and did vehicle checks, and we removed their weaponry from them. And if that didn't work, we simply stood in between the warring factions to enforce the peace. Anything to add to that, Phil?
No, that's basic.
That's more or less it.
Yeah.
So my tour was in both of our tours were in a place called the Krajina. The Krajina was Serb-held Croatia, so the hot spot. And if a person was to go on the Google and look for a mind maps of Croatia, where it's all red, that's the Krajina. So That was Serb-held Croatia, where where most of the fighting was. So we were smack in the middle of it. We weren't on the outside observing. We were in the middle. So was that your Roto 5? Was that your first tour, Phil?
Yes, that was my first tour.
Did you do subsequent tours?
Yeah, I did 2 more tours in '98 and 2001, both to Bosnia.
So tell me about the difference between those 3 tours. Night and day.
It's almost like an escalation between the tours. The rules engagement from the UN, if you remember, is on a recipe card taped to your butt of your rifle. And in '98, when we took over, when NATO took over the peacekeeping for Bosnia, because the UN failed in their peacekeeping mission, the rules of engagement grew by 10 times. It was an accordion effect now. You actually had more opportunities to defend property, people. You can actually engage belligerent if you feel threatened. Unlike what the UN is, you have to wait until you're actually being physically engaged to defend yourself.
And even then, it's a big question mark.
Yeah.
Because it has to be like fire. So, okay, I'm sitting on the 50 cal. You just shot at me with an AK. Am I allowed to shoot back? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And the in '98, is more or less the initial of the United Nations, not the United Nations, NATO enforcing the peace, and the NATO brought in the big stick factor. You shoot me, you bring out a pistol, I bring out a rifle. You bring out a rifle, I bring a machine gun. You bring a machine gun, I bring in a tank. And they bombed Bosnia to submission. They're like, we're not putting up with this. And in 2001, it was more, okay, we have the Bosnian military in cantonment sites. All their equipment is accounted for. All their weapons are locked up. They can take them out for training, but they have to let NATO know where they are, where they're going to be, and return the equipment when they're done. So basically, NATO confiscated all their weapons, put them in a cantonment site, and took account for everything. One, that we had control of it, and two, if they didn't listen, we could destroy them because they're all in one spot or several spots around the country. And at that time, we're also training the Bosnian military to be more professional.
But, as a soldier, which tour would you rather be on? A UN tour or a NATO tour?
NATO.
Yeah.
Unpack
that. Like I'm with you,
yeah.
and I already know the answers before I ask them. But unpack that for me. Why is a NATO tour better for you as a soldier than a UN tour?
When we go on deployments, we train. It doesn't matter for UN, peacekeeping, whatever. We train for war. It's war training first, then peacekeeping second. And with UN you're restricted. You have bureaucrats in New York telling what the unit can and cannot do. With the NATO, you had more opportunities to not just protect yourself and protect civilians. You actually had a stronger mandate that wasn't going to be questioned by anybody. You weren't going to, not for my level as a soldier, not like somebody's going to drag me aside and ask me, why'd you do this? But we actually had a mandate. It wasn't just keeping the sides separated and telling them to play nice. You actually had the authority to, as local commanders, to make change and enforce policies. A little bit more unrestrictive and less, I wouldn't say less consequences, because if everything we do, we have consequences of what we do, but you weren't governed by policy in New York and countries that were, well, General Lewis Mackenzie, when they first went, they weren't supposed to bring armored vehicles because the UN said, no, no, no,
Jesus
no, it's
Christ.
peacekeeping. And he lied and said, yeah, we're not going to bring armored vehicles. And they brought them. And the first night,
Oh my
they were
Lord.
shelled. So
Yeah.
here we got bureaucrats thinking this is Cyprus. Oh, and of course, Cyprus in the late 80s, when everything's quiet and the guys are on the coast riding a banana boat on their holidays.
So would you agree that what we were doing in that type of peacekeeping in the Balkans was a combat mission?
Yes.
Yes, of course it was. When I went to college very shortly after, God, was I sticking out like a sore thumb. But when I went to college, I remember telling one of the stories, and one of the girls there, she said, "Wait a second, you had a rifle? Why'd you have a rifle? It was a peacekeeping tour." And I think that encapsulates really beautifully the misconception of what a big peacekeeping tour is, the purposeful misconception. The Canadian government likes to paint us as the peacekeeper, not the warfighter. And then they control what the public thinks a peacekeeper is. And what a peacekeeper is a combat soldier with his hands tied behind his back. It's the worst.
Basically, yeah.
I'll share a story for the audience to sort of hopefully paint a picture of why peacekeeping tours in a combat zone suck. We did this one exercise called Op Samson. It was a strong arm exercise. Basically, it was a show of force where we got all of the carriers. So I always like to translate for the civilian audience. An APC, an armored personnel carrier, is a tank. Some have wheels, some have tracks. Ours had tracks and they sucked. But that's what we had. So we got everybody together from all four corners of the Kraina and lined up all the carriers, and everybody mounted up, and we went for a little drive around the neighborhood. The thunder of these things rolling down the roads scared the shit out of everybody. It felt pretty cool. But the point of it was to scare the shit out of everybody. Okay? It was a sight to see because like hundreds of carriers all rolling at the same time. And at this one intersection, this is close to the town called Restavik for any of the locals that know the towns there. And there was a Serb stronghold, a house where everybody came pouring out. It was probably about 9 a.m. So of course they were pissed drunk. And about half a dozen of them in a frantic pile come just rattling out of this house, looking around all dazed and confused and holy shit, what's going on? And because it was a sight to see. And there's a few AK-47s, but the one that really stuck out was the RPG. So a rocket propelled grenade, a Russian one, because they had Russian arms, pointed right at me. And I was on the 50 cal. So I didn't know what to do. And this is the difference right here between a UN tour and a NATO tour. On a NATO tour, one, my weapon would have already been cocked. Two, we would have been hatches down so I could just unload without deafening the people underneath the gun. Three, I wouldn't have had to hesitate. You point an RPG at me, I turn you all into soup. That's the deal. And instead, here I am, not sure if I should cock my weapon or not. Not sure if I should wait for an RPG missile to get launched at me, pray to God it misses, or I survive it, or I duck or something, and then I can unleash hell. So that's the difference. And I was in similar situations numerous times. But that one in particular, where there's a frickin' rocket launcher pointed at my face, and I don't know what to do because of the rules. And if I break the rules, I'm going to jail, maybe to the Hague. But I sure won't be protected by my commanding officer. That is for sure. Phil, any thoughts on that story?
It's
Of
true.
which we all have one like it?
The on my tour in Croatia, I joined because I was the platoon commander singler, and usually I get prostituted out to the sections that are short manned on holidays and stuff like that. I was with a section. We're doing a patrol in their M113, their armored personnel carrier, and we got stopped by a bunch of Serbs, and they surrounded the carrier. The master corporals there talking and trying to through the translator, trying to actually no, sorry, we didn't have a translator because it's just a section. Trying to get him away, and we're down in the carrier, and I opened up the grenade box and tugged him on his pant leg, so he looks down and hand him a grenade, and he looks at me and goes, no, 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 no. But we're in, you're sitting there, you're armed to the teeth, but you can't do anything.
Yeah.
You're surrounded, all they could do, we had the roof hatch open, all that they can do is just chuck grenades in and we're screwed.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're in a situation that in war you say you can't control, but your actions are very limited, and that's the scary part. Like you have
because it can get you killed. Like what's the saying? Hesitation kills. But especially the leadership matters so much, Phil. I don't know what your leadership was like, but Roto 4 was. So there were two Roto 4s. There was Op Cavalier and Op Harmony. You and I were Op Harmony. On the Op Harmony side, Roto 4, our commanding officer was the problem, because everybody knew that he did not have your back. Quite the opposite. Everybody knew that he would take any opportunity possible to charge any of his troops with anything. Your chin strap's not done up, going to jail, and which actually happened. We all got fined like crazy. Used the phone at a time that he didn't like. Well, 6 of us got charged for using the phone to call home, which we hadn't done in 2 months. Like, morale was the shits. And for all of one BPCLI, but A company was the worst. We got the worst, and there's no debating this. The entire battalion says, oh yeah, at least I wasn't in A company, which I was. And then everybody in A company says, well, at least I wasn't in one platoon, which I was. Then everybody in one platoon says, well, at least I don't have Wazinski as my sergeant, which I did. And then everybody in that section said, well, at least I'm not Mark, which I am. So there's a pretty good argument to be made that I had the shittiest tour, but and it's still I had some good times after the Waz wigged out. He didn't make the whole tour. He made the first couple of months, turning all of our lives into shit, and then he snapped. He absolutely snapped after a major incident, and he went home. I'm like, oh, thank God. And then the rest of the tour was a lot better after that. But didn't have to worry about getting killed by our own section commander.
Yeah, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, it's always a good thing. So let's talk about the areas, the different FOBs that you were at. For us, it was Kirin Slana, Dobra Voda, and then all the different OPs. I spent a lot of time on 4-7, like a lot of time. I just posted a picture of me in a cave. Well, actually, that was Ken Brisbane in a cave, but that was our cave. Lived in a cave for a couple of years. I've only ever visited, I think 4-8 and 4-6, but I spent all my time on 4-7. Yeah, and then Rastovic when we built all the damned ISO trailers. It must have been nice for you. We had already built every damn thing.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So what? Where were you? Where was your company?
Well, we're in Charles Company. We're in the Randy Crossing,
Camp Presti.
Yeah. Which was actually a pretty nice setup. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's where we went for our showers. It took 2 months before we got showers. We had to go to Camp Cresty.
Because I was the platoon commander's driver and singler, I was all over the countryside. We were Mount Petrum. I can't remember the OP's name. There's Sierra Charlie 6-3 that was in the middle of a farmer's field. which is basically all they had there was a modular tent and barbed wire around the in a minefield.
Oh
Um,
boy.
yeah, the and further south into Kenbat, the Kenyans area.
Did you ever interface with the Kenyans?
Yes, we
No.
actually took over the Kenyans area. The NATO, or sorry, United Nations was in our tour shuffling every contingent down further south, spreading out the coverage, and so we were taking over part of the Kenbats area. So we had, and that was my platoon. So my platoon commander had to talk with the Kenyans, and as the driver, I had to be with him everywhere. So going to the Kenbat headquarters, they had one armored vehicle per company.
Oh my God.
They had one rifle per two guys.
So let's translate. So they have one armored vehicle per 30 or 40 people, as opposed to one armored vehicle per 8 people, which we
Yeah,
had.
yeah,
So wildly under equipped.
very.
Wildly.
They shared weapons, so it was one rifle between two guys. They don't get paid like us, not even
What?
enough. They when we go overseas, Canada pays us, overseas pay, danger pay.
Yep.
A country like Kenya, the country gets paid by the UN.
So the country
That,
keeps most of the dough.
yeah, that doesn't trickle down to the soldiers. So they were supporting everything in the black market. They weren't disrupting anything, and they were giving away or selling UN equipment in trailers, ISO trailers.
So for the audience, the United Nations does not have soldiers. UN soldiers don't exist. Um, Other countries donate soldiers to the UN. So when we were there with blue helmets, we were not UN soldiers. We were Canadian soldiers um, helping out the UN on invitation. At that time, 21 different countries were representing the United Nations. So Kenyans, Nigerians, um, Brits. The Brits are the only ones that I came across. And not all did their job. The French were there. And 1 year before my tour was the biggest battle since Korea, known as Meincke Pocket. And two countries of those 21 countries ran away. They're like, I'm out of here. This is dangerous. I don't want to do this. And they buggered off because it was combat. And the Canadians dug in and they fought for 4 days. That's the Battle of Meincke Pocket, which almost no Canadian knows about, despite a couple of books being because we're peacekeepers, not war fighters. This is the bullshit that the government wants to present to the Canadian public and to the world. We're a bunch of Care Bears out there, just walking around, giving away treats to kids and giving people hugs, and it's like, no. There is some of that. Mark Isfeld is a great example. He died on my tour. He got blowed up, but Mark was giving out the Izzy dolls.
Yeah.
Never knew him personally. I did watch him die, though. I was there when he died, when the chopper came in. But they want to paint that all Canadians are Mark Isfelds going out there giving away these dolls. And that's just not the case. But that's why there's schools named after him. And in every war museum that I've been in, there's a Mark Isfeld wall and saying, this is what the Balkans were. This is what happened there. And it's like, no, that's one small thing that happened there. And that was one guy out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of us. And that is not what that environment was. Over to you, Phil.
Yeah. We when were doing our recce of the Kenyans area and their observation posts, we found Serbs living with the Kenyans. They're
Holy
literally
shit.
making the shift schedules. one guy from Kenyan, he's being replaced by a Serbian soldier, and he's being replaced by a Kenyan. When we took over those areas, of course, we kicked them all out, and we burnt their OPs and bunkers. Like, we're not, for hygiene purposes, we're not staying in there.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, we sandbagged the planet. We we rebuilt these monstrous bunkers.
Were they still giving you the biodegradable sandbags, or do they?
I think it was filtered then. They were still the crappy sandbags that probably lasted about 6 months. We don't know if they're radioactive dirt or not.
Oh yeah, that would have been you too, because we're the ones that filled all those sandbags.
Yeah.
Actually, it was my platoon that filled all of them for the battalion, and a lot of them with it wasn't radioactive, but it was laced with PCBs.
Yeah.
So how many guys are dead from cancer? I don't know. But what you might not know is that we all signed a document at the end of that tour from the medical officer saying, yes, I acknowledge that I was exposed to these horrible PCBs and I'm probably going to die of cancer. So we all signed that. And then the CO, the same one that was just horrible for morale, removed them from our medical docs with the MPs. So, but all the reservists that were returned to unit, they still had their docs. So it still stayed alive. And then there was for the audio audience, I'm doing air quotes right now, investigation, which of course is, oh yeah, nothing to see here. Like the investigations always do, right? It turned up nothing, but we were all exposed to it. We all lived in it. We filled those sandbags, and then in come you guys living in the same places with the same damn sandbags. I'm glad you knew that they were at least toxic, and
Yep.
at least you knew about that.
Well, we found out later, like after the end of the tour, because they didn't tell us during. Like,
of course not. Of course not.
We when we officially took over the area from the Kenyans, because there was, we're in the zone of separation, which is basically the Kyrenia. So you can't have you can't have any weapons or military equipment, and that's where all the Serbs are living.
So for our American audience, that's a DMZ, a demilitarized zone of separation, same thing.
So with the Kenyans giving them UN ISO trailers, the trailers are with UN markings, bright white things with UN on it. The Serbs are using them as ammo depots and weapons depots.
Oh my God.
So during the Christmas holidays, we had an operation to confiscate all UN equipment. So we were doing operations to pick up these trailers around, but we knew there one that was just outside the town of Kolarina, little hole in the ground, little village. And we had the observation post just up the mountain behind this village. And we knew this trailer was full of weapons. So we saved it to the end. December 31st, New Year's Eve, was that morning was the operation to confiscate this trailer. We did a cordon ops, roadblocks, went rolling in, surrounded the trailer. We, the vehicles, we all jumped out with our weapons. It was a Mexican standoff. 2 Serbs were on duty in the trailer. Refused to give up the weapons. Of course, you have no mandate to shoot anybody. So it was quite hilarious because you're sitting there, what are we going to do? Like, so it turned into talking them eventually. My platoon commander did eventually talk them into surrendering, which I'm amazed. And then they walked away, and we just started emptying out the trailer. Like kid in a candy store, arms full of AKs, just throw them in the back of her M113s. And Sergeant Jack Murphy, who his section was at the observation post on top of this mountain, they were ones doing the roadblock down at the bottom. And the Serb commander, local commander, comes up because also they had field phones. And of course, when we did this operation, we cut their communications line so they can't tell, for backup. But the Serb commander comes up and Sergeant Murphy, calls on the radio, says, yeah, he wants to talk to the person in charge. So my officer grabs the interpreter, jumps in the Iltis, drives down the mountain himself as I'm emptying out a trailer full of weapons. At the roadblock, the local commander didn't need a translator. He looks at my officer and says, you're a fucking dead man. Pardon my French. And of course, Sergeant Murphy's going, his observation post is up the road. They're not going to come kill you. They're going to come kill us. And my platoon commander, being a young officer, you can't threaten me. I'm the UN. You can't threaten the UN.
Oh, God.
And the Serb commander just looks at him. You're fucking dead. Turns around and walks away. So next thing I know, I get a call on the radio to pick up the officer and take him back to Charles Company's Camp Krusty.
Was anything like backup called or like a stand 2 or QRF come out or anything like that?
No. So I drove, the officer just told me, he goes, take me back. I got to give a debriefing. He was quiet the whole way ride, the whole way ride back. I drop him off at the company headquarters. He runs in. And this time it's around supper time. Went to the mess hall, got my food, come back, and as soon as I sit down to eat, I get a call saying that the ops warrant officer, Warrant Hill, needs to talk to me. So I go in. He goes, listen, the generator at the observation post went down. We need you, since you know the area, to escort some engineers out there so they can fix it. He goes, I need you to meet them in Bankovac and escort them there. If they need an escort back, escort them back. If they don't, make your way back as fast as possible. And this, I was a private, whatever, not questioning orders, not using my head and thinking. Okay. Went to platoon lines, and I need a co-driver. So I went up to Eric Leclerc. If anybody knows him, he is now a chief warrant officer, but everybody knows his father. At that time, Eric was in platoon headquarters, and I go, I need a co-driver. He's like, I'm going to the gym. I'm like, okay. So I went to the platoon lines, and I said, hey, guys, I need a volunteer. I got to do an escort. I need a volunteer, a co-driver. And John Tessioni, reservist from the 48th Islander, goes, I'll go with you, Phil. I'm like, okay. Lessons learned, you never volunteer for anything. Well, he's going to learn this in the hard way.
Yeah, at least.
We drove to Bankovac in the Iltis, waited for the engineers. They showed up, and we had to wait for a second vehicle for the engineers to come. When they arrived, I took them the most direct route to the observation post. It happened to be the longer route, but there's only 2 turns in the whole route. This is around 6 o'clock at night, 1800. We got to the observation post, and of course, New Year's Eve, the engineers go to work. John and I start walking around the OP and wishing everybody a Happy New Year's, stuff like that. Guys I went through Cornwallis and Battle School, Vic Baker, were in that section. Wishing the boys, Happy New Year's. But I go to the engineer sergeant. Do you need an escort back? My orders are, if you don't, I have to get my ass out of here. I have to make my way back as fast as possible. And the sergeant goes, nope, we're good. Say goodbye to everybody. John and I jumped back in the Iltis, drove down the mountain, and the road to the right is the direction we came from. To the left is the shortcut through the town of Colorina. Fastest way possible. You know, I am infantry, but I'm not stupid. Shortcut. As soon as we pulled into the going through the town of Colorina, of course it's 1800, 1830. They have no lights. It's dark. The headlights, as we turn around the corner, the center of town, the center intersection of town, my headlights hit about 25 armed soldiers, Serbian soldiers, standing on the road.
And there's two of you.
And there's two of us in an Altus. And we were always told, don't stop for anybody trying to stop you. They'll try to take equipment from your vehicle, steal the jerry can of gas, take you hostage, take the fuel off the back of your Altus. Don't stop. Get through it, then report it. But they're all standing on the road. I can't back up, turn around. So as I'm slowly approaching the crowd, they start parting off the road. And as soon as we're in the middle of it, somebody yells something in Serb. Next thing you know, you hear every AK cock. The next thing you hear, or next thing you see and feel, is everybody opening up and the rounds flying past you. And then you get the sound of everybody shooting after. I got shot twice in the back, shrapnel on my right arm. Tessioni got hit 7 times, 4 in the back of the head. The hit in the back of the head came around his left ear, and his left ear was dangling about 1.5 inches off his head.
So the helmets work.
We weren't wearing helmets.
What? How'd he survive? Or
he had the thickest head in NATO, and he proved it.
Jesus.
He had a 48 caliber tattoo on his right arm, blew that off, in and out of his right shoulder, and a round embedded into his left hand middle finger. Because how if you're in the zone of separation, you didn't need to wear helmets because there's not supposed to be any weapons in here. When you're outside the zone, that's when the helmet's on, and that's where the flak jackets come on.
Oh, if we were moving, we were wearing them. We were wearing the Kevlar helmets for sure.
Yeah, so we were wearing ball caps and our Kevlar vests.
Christ.
So the back of the Jeep got hit 54 times. The right side of the Altus, we ended up losing both right tires, were flat. First thing I did was, you can't grab your rifle because they're stored on the side.
Yeah.
The Altus is standard vehicle.
No sidearm?
Manual. No sidearm.
Yeah.
Grabbed the radio, called in a contact report. Realized the radio shot. Looked at John, noticed his ears dangling off the head. First aid, direct pressure, push his ear back to his head. He screamed. I said sorry. As we're driving,
were you still moving? Was the Altus still moving at this point? Like, so tires or no tires, you're going.
Tires or no tires, I was still driving. I think that Altus, we can make fun of that thing all you want. Snowmobile with 4 tires, missing 2 right tires. It still went 60 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
I drove the snot out of it.
Yeah.
Made it fun driving because she's now doing this on the road. Yeah. And when you want to do a turn, there's nothing to grip it until the rims of the tire grab the asphalt. For
our American audience and the civilians, the Altus is what we used to use as a Army Jeep. So it's a Canadian Jeep made by Bombardier that I guess in this particular case did its job.
A lot of rounds that were behind me that got stopped was from the radio. A lot of rounds that saved John's life was from the Kevlar blanket that were issued. Yeah. The funny story is it wasn't.
So it does stop bullets, that blanket.
Well, when we got issued it, we got issued 1 blanket. So as the driver, I'm the one that signed for it. I put it underneath my seat. Mm-hmm. Because the whole idea was if you run over a landmine, at least this is supposedly save you.
Yeah, well, Tommy Anderson lost both legs, and the only thing that kept him alive, they were both ejected right out the roof of the Altus. but I don't know the other guy's name, sergeant of some sort. But they were both shot through the roof, and but it was the ballistic blanket that kept him alive. Still got both his legs torn off and lost an eyeball, but he's alive and well today.
So when we got issued it, I was taking the platoon commander up for to a meeting, and he notices, he goes, "Oh, we got issued the blankets," and he looks down at his seat. Where's mine? I'm like, we only got issued one, sir. He goes, why isn't it underneath my seat? Because I'm the driver. He goes, I think it should be under my seat. I stopped the Altus in the middle of the road, got out, rolled it up, threw it in the back of the Jeep. You don't have one. I don't have one. Are you okay with that? He just shut up, and we carried on our way. That Kevlar blanket rolled up stopped a lot of rounds from John.
Jesus.
Ended up going about...
That's divine intervention right there, brother.
Yeah. Drove, instead of going to battalion or the company headquarters in Meincke, my platoon commander always told me, if something happens, go right to Rastovic. You have the battalion UMS. They have surgeons.
Was that still HQ when you're there?
Yeah.
Big camp.
So anything that, of all I could say about my officer, he did tell me that. You know, so, and I knew, like, because I had a lot of time to think driving this thing. If I go to the company headquarters, Charles Company headquarters, all they do is the medics are going to patch me up, throw them in the truck, and take me to Rastovic anyway. And is actually shorter distance to go to Rastovic than it was to go to Charles Company.
Okay.
So driving through Bankelvac, of course, I look over. I noticed locals walking down the street staring at me. I'm like, what the hell are you guys looking at? And I see the sparks flying off the front wheel well. And that's where I realize, okay, I have no, confirm I have no right tires.
And no radio, and no way to
no
call
radio.
QRF or anything.
Yeah. And, first thing I should change the tire. I'm like, no, that spare's behind me. I'm going through my head every time, problem solving in my head. Oh, tire's blown out. Got to change the tire. No, spare tires shot up. Keep driving. Little did I know, another Altus came up behind us. And I can't hear anything through radio because the radio's dead. My Jeep's doing this on the road, trying to keep straight. The guys behind me see a Jeep swerving on the road. New Year's Eve.
Think you're drunk.
They radio ahead, don't let these guys in, they're drunk. Until did the turn off to Rastovic. They got right behind us to be able to see the back of the Jeep. And they called it, let him in, let him in, let him in. Drove up the hill, and John said he passed out, but every time I talked to him, he answered me. I just telling him, regardless if the gate's open or closed, I'm driving through it. I'm not stopping. Lucky for us, the gate, they did open the gate when it came up. I drove straight to the UMS, parked out inside, got out, grabbed my rifle, walked around the Jeep, helped John out, grabbed his rifle. I had both weapons around my shoulder. And as soon as we started walking to the UMS, the medics come running out of the UMS, grab John, start walking up the ramp, and they're like, where else do you shot? I'm walking up behind them like, I've been hit too. And they stop and they turn around like, where? I go, in my back. And they're like, give me your rifle, brought me in. And then it was, poking and prodding by the medics. But I'm sitting there going, okay, you got to call Charles Company, got to let them know what happened. You got to call the observation post, let them know what happened. I got to talk to the ops warrant. I got to talk to, and they're like, yeah, just that will happen. I'm like, no, like, stop touching me. Military thinking, I still got to do this. This is still my job. I'm not done yet. And funny fact is, our former CDS, General Vance, he was the ops officer for 1RCR. And on holidays or like New Year's, the officers take security while the troops enjoyed New Year's. So he was at the posted to the main gate when we came driving through. It wasn't until the next day he actually came into the UMS to talk to me and get some sort of briefing. But they took John in for surgery first since he had the most wounds and or physically harming wounds. And I got to I sat and wait, and I got an opportunity to call home and tell my mother I got shot, which is kind of funny because at this time, when I called home, the phone was busy. I didn't get to talk to my mother until 2 days later, and I realized when she got informed that I got shot, the reserve unit, the Lake Superior Scottish Regiment in Thunder Bay, already knew. And they sent their CO and a Padre to see my mom.
Wow, that's classy.
So as soon as they showed up, told her, of course, like every other mom, calling everybody else and their dog what happened without hearing from me. But unfortunately, that's the last time my mom ever talked to the reserve unit.
How old were you?
I was 21.
Yeah, that's what people don't get. We were just kids. I turned 24 in that place. My 24th birthday was in the beginning of the tour. And 21, some of the guys 18. And there we are.
Yep.
I don't know of any other events where we really got shot up other than what happened to you and Medeck Pocket. I mean, got shot at a lot,
yeah,
but actually hit. Those are the only two places that I know of. Was there more that you can think of?
No.
I mean, lots of landmines took us out, but
we had lots of landmines on that tour. We're very quiet. It was a very quiet tour.
Minus that.
Yeah, minus that. Well, like before this was very quiet. Rastovic did have somebody shelled Rastovic a couple times, but that was just the odd shelling.
Well, you had the advantage of taking over from us. We had the disadvantage of taking over from the Vandus. I apologize to any of the Vandu listeners, but my God, we were handed like nothing worked. Everything was shit. The ammo boxes were full of water. All the M113s needed new track pads. Nothing was maintained. No sandbags were filled. Like it was junk. And that's what they handed over to us. Just a big pile of junk that we had to fix everything. It took us 3 weeks to get operational. And so we had to fix everything that was broken. And then we had to tune up all the locals because all the locals were used to doing whatever the hell they wanted. And they were used to stealing the diesel or getting sold the diesel for cheap, the UN diesel, so that the Vandus would pocket the money personally. Like the corruption was off the charts. And it took a while before the locals went, "Oh, you're not the same at all. You both got a maple leaf on your shoulder, but you are not the same. This is the fuck around find out unit." It's like, that's right, that's us. So no more silly games. But that made it dangerous for us because there was no respect there. So after we tuned up all the locals, and they went, "Oh, you don't mess with these guys." Okay, all right, that's different. So we had already got all that sorted out before you guys took over from us, which, other than what happened to that event. So my question here is, was there eventually a response? Was there any response to that place?
So, from my perspective, the next day, 1 or 2 days later, they had the MPs come to me, and they had Polaroids. Of course, back in the day, there's no digital pictures; it's all Polaroid pictures, and it was a stack. and they just went through, where did you get shot? They took every 5 feet of road a picture, all the way back to Rastovic. Where did you get shot? Because the road was swept clean. You couldn't find a piece of rubber. You can't find a brass casing. What the unit did is
I'm
they
surprised.
stood down.
I'm surprised the Serbs cleaned up.
Well,
that's weird.
They were fearing retaliation from the UN. Because first, when they started investigating, they denied it. Oh, of course, we didn't shoot anybody. And then their second response was, well, they opened up fire first.
As you're driving.
And they're like, well, if they opened up fire first, why isn't the rounds hitting the front of the Jeep? Why are all the rounds in the back? And we have Tessioni and Badanai's weapons. All the ammo is accounted for. They still have dust caps on their barrels.
Didn't have a chance to fire a shot.
Nope.
Yeah, there's a weapon count. One of my mags couldn't hold the last 3, so I had 147 at all times.
Yeah. What the unit did was they basically 2-vehicle movement at all times, armored. Nobody could leave the camp except Rocky Platoon. Rocky Platoon was actually sent out and basically planted their ass in Colarena. It wasn't. We didn't get much of a response, like to them. There was not a response other than an investigation. The UN decided to do an investigation themselves because our area is very quiet. And the military, being the military, especially the Canadian military, an investigation, they were looking at charging somebody.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
They were looking at charging me.
With what?
I went down an uncleared route.
So it's your fault you got shot at?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So what they tried to do...
Welcome to a UN tour.
What the unit tried to do, state that when my officer was threatened, the alert state changed. No one is supposed to be out on a vehicle unless it's armored vehicle and you're accompanied by another armored vehicle. They tried to state, and of course, I don't know this. At this time, when I'm finding this, I found this out later on, but at this time, I'm back in Canada. I've gone through the treatment in Rastovic, sent to Zagan to the U.S. Fleet Hospital, treated by the Americans, then eventually repatriated back to Canada and went to MDMC, or MDMC, the Canadian Forces Medical Center. And my platoon warrant, who was on holidays, came to the hospital and asked me, what happened, what's going on, what do you know? And I told him, and he goes, okay, we'll talk when I get back after the end of the tour. But he goes, I'll find out what's going on. So when Vic Visakis, my warrant, went back to Croatia, started walking around the camp, what's going on, guys? And when headquarters start doing something that's kind of fishy, because they're all quiet and they're whispering and they start running around in circles, Warrant Visakis goes, what's going on? And my officer, I can't tell you. He goes, what are you doing? And that's where they told him, we're looking at charging Badanai for going down an uncleared route. And Vic's like, okay, how and why? Well, we all gave everybody a briefing. Well, when did you give a briefing? 1800. The whole company was in the mess hall. Okay. Was Badanai there? Oh, everybody was there. Look at the front gate logs. Badanai left at 15:30 or 17:30. So if he left the camp, how do you have a briefing that he was in at 1800? They're like, well, he went down an uncleared route. How do you know it was uncleared? You didn't say that over the radio because you guys went radio silent. So if it wasn't for Warrant Fasakis, I probably would have been charged. But my warrant was like, do you guys know what's going on in Canada right now? Badanai is being hauled up in front of the Canadian media. He is telling his story. The media is saying he's a hero. He's doing all this, and you guys want to charge him? He goes, I think you want to reconsider this. And Warren Fasakis told me this after the tour. He goes, did you actually get debriefed at all? I'm like, no.
What did that do to you in your relationship with the military, knowing that they were looking to after you just got shot in the back, and instead of covering your ass and looking after you, the people that are supposed to be your brothers in arms are looking to fucking charge you? What did that do to you?
Very distrusting of the chain of command.
Yeah.
I have I'm diagnosed with PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things with my PTSD is I'm very just, I distrust the chain of command. People
Well, that's
authority.
called a moral injury.
Yes.
That particular situation.
I also have a thing for if I find out or I presume somebody is incompetent.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. And that has affected my civilian work as well. Dealing with civilian companies and managers that are complete idiots through my PTSD and a speed wobble.
It's abuse of authority. People don't understand PTSD and moral injury. I finally got a family doctor yesterday. So I've been without one for about 5 or 6 years. And so I got the first one I could find, right? And he had no idea that PTSD was a neurological injury, that you can see it in a brain scan and a PET scan.
Yeah.
He had no idea. He looked at me like I had 3 fucking heads when I'm trying to explain this to him. And he's like, what? But to his credit, he listened. I tried to explain who I was and why I know what I know, but he had absolutely no idea. And unfortunately, I think that's a lot of medical doctors. They don't understand, and they don't understand the difference between moral injury and PTSD, which is encoded in terror, in fear. Even Dr. Jordan Peterson doesn't understand. I hear him, well, the worst part about PTSD is finding out the devil inside yourself when you do something that you really regret. And like, no, dude, that's not what it is. PTSD is when your nervous system is on full throttle and then the throttle gets stuck. That's the easiest way to say it. It's a neurological injury that keeps your throttle on full. And that's why the hypervigilance and these other things. Moral injury, which I would say is worse, is when you get fucked over by the same person that's supposed to protect you. It's very similar to childhood trauma when you're a 6-year-old that gets batted around by an adult. This is supposed to be the person that I can trust and that looks after me. And the person that's supposed to look after you is the one that hurts you. And that's what happened to you with them trying to charge you. The same thing happened. Our carrier, do you know where Kieran Slana was?
No, not off the top of my head.
It was fairly close to Medak. But there was a giant valley there with this big ass bridge, probably 200 footer, at the high point. Well, as you know, the M113s had a malfunction on them, on this old piece of equipment where one of the tracks would lock up just out of the blue. And because that's how you steer is with the tracks, one of the tracks would lock up and then it would swing hard to the right or to the left. In this case, it swang hard to the right, smashed into the guardrail, and of course it's at the high spot, right? We did the Dukes of Hazzard up on one track as it crunched this shittily made Falcon frickin' guardrail came back on the bridge. Total miracle. Like literally the hand of God came down and said, not today, boys. We're going to keep you on the bridge. It defied the laws of physics. There's no way we should have survived it. So our driver magically saved our frickin' lives. Like how many fit in an M113? About 8 of us, give or take.
Yeah.
You know, and so we're all alive because of Tom Greenlaw. Tom Greenlaw saved our frickin' ass. And how that happened? So instead of giving this guy a medal or at least a pat on the back or buying him a beer, the CO and the RSM investigated how can we charge this guy? Saved our life.
Yep.
But how can we charge him? That's a moral injury. Absolutely freaking hideous. The guy that saved our life.
Yeah.
I'm getting an echo. Are you hearing the echo?
A little bit. That could be my son in the shower, though.
Oh, okay.
Reading that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Hopefully my producer can cut that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's loud through the speaker.
I ended up getting awarded the Meritorious Service Medal
for that event.
For that event.
Well, what you did was spectacular. Like one, you survived it. Like wow, and but you saved your buddy's life. Like if you hadn't been like hammered down, fucking go for it, you know, driving on your damned rims, you'd both be dead.
I always said to John, you know, he goes, "Oh, you saved my life," or people said, "Oh, you're a hero. You saved John's life." John was along for the ride.
You saved your own ass.
I saved my own ass, and he was just happy to be there.
Hey,
you know, that's the reality of it.
Yeah. How much longer? So that was 94.
94.
Bleeding into 95. How long until, well, 2 questions. How long until you knew that nobody was coming to charge you? And then the second one, how long until it occurred to somebody to put you up for that Meritorious Service Medal?
I didn't know anybody was charging me. I didn't find that out until after I talked to Warrant Vasakis after they came back after the end of the tour.
And so the idea of charging you had already gone away by the time you figured it out? Well, thank God for that.
Yeah. I knew I was, sorry, I didn't know. What was it, May? No. It was the next year, I guess, yeah, it was the next 94, 96, I got the Meritorious Service Medal. So that was, yeah.
Well, shit, that's all right.
Yeah.
So they didn't wait 20 years.
No. But then I always found is...
Did that square that circle for you a little bit? Did that give you a little bit of closure? Like, oh, okay, this is appreciated.
It did, but it didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was, you know, it was, you know, I was honored. I was like very thankful. In the unit, my sergeant major, because I got other accolades because of this. I got the UN Peacekeeper of the Year award from the Canadian Citizenship Federation.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, neither did I. Which is hosted by, at that time, Corel was the computer company that did the programming for the military. They bought Windows and all that stuff. So they hosted this ceremony. And they also, when they bought Windows, which Windows was an American company, when they bought it, Windows supported an organization called the American Freedom Award. And when they took it over, they said, we're going to keep everything that you guys are doing. It's just a different company in charge, but we're going to support everything you guys support. And they said, well, we do this American Freedom Award that Americans do things in freedom. And they're like, hey, we got a guy for you. Here's Badanai. Here's his story. So they're like, can we get him? Can we give this to him? So Corel went to Ottawa and they said, we want to give this honor to Badanai. And NDHQ went, oh no, well, we have General so-and-so or Colonel so-and-so. They're like, no, we want Badanai. So Corel actually kind of strong-armed the military and said, listen, we're providing your software and all this for your computers. Give us what we want. We don't want an officer. We don't want a general. We want Badanai for this. So at this time as a corporal, I'm just, again, doing what I'm doing. But every time I went to a ceremony, my sergeant major was like, come here. You have this tasking here. It's in DEUs. I'm in Petawawa. The tasking's in Ottawa. You're showing up in DEUs. You're being inspected. Then you're going to Ottawa. I'm like, sir, so I'm wearing DEUs for a 3-hour drive to look presentable. And how about I get dressed in Ottawa? Why are you inspecting me here? My postings, like I asked for, I wanted to go to get posted to anti-armor platoon. My company sergeant major, no, you're staying here. You're not moving. I almost felt like I was a chess piece. Like, I got a Badanai, you don't. So as a soldier, I'm like, just let me do my job. Leave me alone. Like I appreciated the American Freedom Award.
They needed a poster boy.
Yeah, I went to American Freedom Award. I went to Provo, Utah. I was in the American 4th of July parade. I did a talk of my story in front of a whole bunch of Americans. I got the Crystal Award that had an American Bald Eagle in it.
Wow.
Gorgeous. American 4th of July parade, I'm a Canadian soldier, and I got people cheering for me.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, the Americans do a good job of it. My family, we were on a cruise to Honduras about a year ago, and they had one day set aside for a tribute to veterans, and like all veterans, Canadian and otherwise, welcome. So there I was standing with all these Americans, and every branch of service was honored, and the crowd that showed up, and like, it was really something. And I thought, there's no way in hell this would happen on a Canadian cruise ship.
Yeah. I got the SSF Soldier of the Year.
Wow.
At that time, they only gave out one in Petawawa. Now, or years after, they, each unit had a Soldier of the Year.
SSF at that time, that's 3 RCR?
1 RCR, the Airborne Regiment, the 2 CER, RCDs.
Yeah. So for the audience, SSF doesn't really exist anymore. That was Special Service Force, but or no, what?
What is Special Service Force?
Yeah, Special Service Force. Yeah. How long did you? So after you're in the first, you went to the third.
Yeah, right after the disbandment of the Airborne, the unit had no name. We made fun of it because every week they made a new sign giving the unit Airborne Holding Unit, Light Infantry Battalion. We don't know what we're called, but the military's made these signs. So you're just sitting back. How much is that costing us? How much is that costing the taxpayer? Because they're not, like some cardboard sign. They're metal signs that were made up. Yeah. So right after the span, the Airborne had no name, and we were standing up a unit. Eventually became 3 RCR, but at that time we didn't know exactly what we were standing up. So that's how I escaped 1 RCR. And I felt that was good because I wasn't a showpiece. I was, I actually got to do.
And where are the 3 different RCR battalions stationed? One's engaged down.
Sorry, the 1st and the 3rd in Petawawa.
Okay, so
and
they're together.
And 2 RCRs engaged down.
So it's the same as the Patricias. 1st and 3rd are in Edmonton, and then the 2nd is in Shiloh.
Shiloh, yeah.
Yeah. What'd you do when you got out?
Well, I remustered in 2001 after my last tour. Went military firefighter.
Cool.
Went Cold Lake for 2 years, and Trenton for 4, and then my PTSD was diagnosed, and I was medically retired. I got
So
a job.
what year was PTSD diagnosed?
I started getting I started getting my symptoms of PTSD started coming out in 2002
Mm-hmm.
as a firefighter in Cold Lake. Uh, my being up north in Cold Lake, the sun never coming up or never going down plays a havoc. My wife was pregnant with
Beautiful
my
area though,
youngest,
Cold Lake.
unless you're ill. And my wife
Mm.
developed a cyst on her pancreas while
Oh
she was
God.
pregnant. So she had a difficult pregnancy. The doctors were telling her you should abort. And of course, can't be seen in Trenton, or sorry, in Cold Lake. So we have to go to Edmonton. So it was back and forth, back and forth. So it was really stressful. Sergeant Rob Short, like 3rd Battalion, went to Afghanistan. A buddy of mine, Sergeant Short, um, his Iltis went over an IED, died.
Oof.
That really, since I just left the regiment, um, I was very conflicted. So that took me really took it hit me hard, and I went to the UMS, and the warrant there, Jack Buchanan, was in charge of the UMS, was one of my instructors in Cornwallis for basic. And I saw him and I go like, Warrant Buchanan, can I talk to you? Something's wrong. I need to talk. And Warrant was like, Phil, come on in. Come to my office. So I was just telling him what's going on, and he just like, Phil, you got PTSD. And I'm like,
So
why now?
how did you know? What were the symptoms? If you're able to share, if not, that's fine.
I was the angriest person in Cold Lake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firefighter. We got lazy boys. I wash fire trucks for a living. Why am I angry? Why am I like everything was setting me off.
Yeah.
And I know I wasn't sleeping well. I was getting, my wife's sick, pregnant, and I'm getting mad at her because she's in pain. And I knew like this is not, something's wrong. I'm not thinking compassionately. I'm not thinking like a human being. So that's when I like, something's off. And Jack was like, no shit. He's like, you can't go through what you did without having some residual effect.
And it's normal for it to show up later.
Yes.
A lot of the people that say the Afghanistan crowd, right? Like that all ended in what, 2012 ish.
Yeah.
But symptoms can sit and fester for decades. At the OSI clinic, we've seen like Vietnam veterans and Korea veterans. It's like guys that are in their 70s and 80s that all of a sudden go, I got a problem. Because it can sit and fester for forever. So for all the people that are like, yeah, I went through all that and I'm fine, there's no problems. Isn't there though? I went 23 years before I was diagnosed because I thought everybody else was an asshole.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it wasn't the world, it was me.
When like a lot of things are like, was I having symptoms when I was in the infantry? Like when I left for RCR, I was a master corporal.
Yeah.
Well, master corporals yell and scream, and they're, he's angry. Let's stay away from him. As master corporal, he's ranting and raving. Is that, it's easier to hide.
Yeah.
Those symptoms, but as a firefighter, you're comfy cozy, and you're having a crew dinner, and it's like, yeah, why?
Or in the civilian world, good luck.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was in college a year after I got out, 2 years after the war. Fuck. With all these kids that grew up with like no issues whatsoever. I stuck out like a sore thumb, man. It was something.
And I talked to, I called, like every New Year's, I would call Tessioni. And, like, hey man, how's it going? Want to go for a drive? Just, to touch base. And at this time, I started like, something's not right, John. And we started talking. And like, I'm in Cold Lake, he's in Toronto. still doing the reservist civilian bit, and I'm like, I start going through what I'm experiencing, and he's like, so am I. I'm feeling that too. Like 10 years later, we're both hitting the symptoms at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, which if I didn't reach out to him, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have a clue. Um, and of course, not like everybody's symptoms are the same. But it's I knew I needed help, and doing that, I knew that was the end of my career.
And that's the sad part. I think they've gotten better now from what I've been hearing, Phil. That it's not career suicide to put your hand up and say, hey, I got an issue. But when you and I served, it was absolutely career
Yeah,
suicide. Still is with the RCMP.
yeah. And when I got out, which is funny because I was fighting for the retention, the 3-year retention, because at this time I had 16 years in. I want to get close to my 20,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least give me my full pension, and because not knowing the unknown, how am I going to support my family? I'm getting booted out of the military. What the hell am I going to do? Um, I ended up getting a job at Kalian, teaching firefighting at Borden as a civilian, which is funny because I put my release in for my 30-day release, and my fire chief's like, you can't get out in 30 days. You don't have 20 years in. I'm getting medically released. Well, yeah, but you still can't get out in 30 days. I go, watch me. But, in a way, it was a safety net because I'm still dealing with the military. I'm still in that military family, but as a civilian. So I did that for almost 2 years until the military screwed up their contracts. And then I ended up getting a job at Bombardier in Toronto as their airport firefighter and fire safety inspector. And I did that for almost 10 years until they terminated my contract because they rather hire kids that did a pre-fire service course or a contract security guard. And I was training them airport firefighting. So I was training, a kid making $18 an hour to do my job. And they were happy to do it, but I'm like, you don't understand the responsibility you're taking.
All these years later, Phil, how do you stay healthy? What do you do that works? What are your coping mechanisms, and how do you get through it?
I went through a spiral. Uh, I did the Invictus Games in Toronto after seeing my friend Steve Daniels do it in London. He was paralyzed the waist down from a parachuting accident, and I saw Steve. I'm like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Life sucked. My family life sucked. My work sucked. Um, Mentally, I was looking for something to dig me out of a hole that I was in. I stopped going to therapy. Worst mistake ever. Uh, so I did the Invictus Games, and that really changed my outlook on life. It changed the fact that there's more to life than work. There's more. Started indoor. I did indoor rowing, wheelchair tennis, and wheelchair rugby. Phenomenal experience. So I started to get exercising. Rowing machine. I love and hate that thing at the same time. I have a service dog now. I'm deemed DEC. I can't work anymore.
Yeah, so I'm on DEC as well. So that's diminished earning capacity. And isn't it funny how we don't like talking about it? We don't like talking about the benefits that we receive. Yet I had no idea that it even existed until I was in the system for about 4 years. So
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was something that I could move towards.
Well, when I got terminated out of Bombardier, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I just, out of lost hope, reached out to VAC, Veteran Affairs,
Why'd you get canned from Bombardier?
because they were cutting uh, personnel to save budget. And I was the last airport firefighter to be working there. They terminated everybody else. I just happened to outlive everybody else there.
Well, you did well
Um,
then. The reason I was asking is I can't keep a job for shit, and for all the reasons that you talked about earlier, my tolerance level for dishonesty, for abuse of power, for bullying is zero. And I don't care if you're 6'9", like I'll fight you. I don't care.
I really had a hard time with my managers
Yeah.
at Bombardier. I called them out on their bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, all the
Tough to
supervisors
keep a
sat
job when
there.
you're doing that.
Well, a lot of supervisors just yes men, bobbed their head. Yep, yep, yep. I'm like,
No,
no, you're an
can't
idiot.
do it.
This is why. Um, and even my assessments,
Oh,
my
God.
yearly reviews, my supervisor is saying, Phil, if you just play nice to the manager, you would get a bigger bonus or a pay raise. And I'm like, I can't be but. I'm sorry, he's an idiot. I can't sugarcoat that shit. So I'm amazed I lasted that long.
Yeah, good
But
job.
when I did get my termination, they kicked everybody out of the office.
Yeah.
And so it was me and the manager and HR. And because they were afraid, and I found this out, they were afraid of what I was going to do when I got terminated.
Mm.
Because I'm a veteran with PTSD and they knew that.
Yeah.
I just laughed. I said, good luck.
There's two paths for us, right? So when we're constantly button heads because our bullshit meter is always going, and our tolerance for bullshit is zero, right? Less than zero. And because we've been shot at, you were actually shot. So what are you going to do? You're not going to shoot me. Like, I'm just not scared of you. And okay, you're the big boss man. You're the CEO. Fucking don't care. You're a person and you can't scare me. It doesn't matter who you are. You can't fucking scare me. So when you realize, like, a lot of guys, they can keep jobs and good on them. But for the rest of us that can, like myself, can't keep that job because I can't keep my mouth shut for the life of me, even though when I really know I should, can't do it. So that gives us two paths. The reason there's so many homeless veterans is because they can't stand um, the risk of getting fired one more time. It's that rejection is horrible. I don't know, like for anybody that's never been fired from a job, it's going to be tough to relate to this. But for if you've been fired even once in your life, it sucks. Well, I've been fired a lot. And I've had some good fucking jobs, like vice president of an oil and gas company, vice president of this, vice president of that, like good jobs. And, but when I sense being pushed or bullied, I'm just like, nope. So I couldn't keep that job. So our paths are homelessness and addiction. That's one path when that keeps happening. And we see lots of that. The other path is entrepreneurism. And really, those tend to be the only two paths that fit us. Some people, they become truck drivers. Actually, a ton of us become truck drivers just because if we're on the road, we're not dealing with people. I know tons of guys that went truck drivers. But that is the reality that we face. And if somebody looks at us, well, Mark, you just built your house, like you're a capable guy. It's like, well, I'm capable within a narrow parameter. And I've learned over the years what that narrow parameter is. And if I do great if I stay in that narrow parameter, like I'm a really good public speaker because I show up. There's no conflict. Everybody treats you like gold, and it's a nice paycheck at the end. And I'm in and out in a day,
Mm.
right? But in a corporate environment where I've got to nod my head and agree with shit that is just wrong, I can't do it. And plus I feel awkward and
Yeah.
yeah, just can't do it. But that is normal.
But
That
there is
happens
also
all the
another
time.
path. There's also another path.
Let's hear it.
It's volunteering.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a path for earning money, but
Yeah,
volunteering,
that's
dude, I preach this all the time because you can never replace the big green machine. That's not going to happen as far as a sense of purpose. But volunteering, what a great sense of service. Like it's a huge thing to do. And um, great for the mental health, great for the sense of purpose, great reason to get out of bed in the morning, whether you're walking dogs for the local SPCA, or volunteering to stock shelves at a food bank, or whatever floats your boat. But volunteering, absolutely. Are you volunteering yourself?
So I do stuff with Team Rubicon. Um,
Okay.
I've gone up to Pichitanicum and installed fire extinguishers and give fire safety briefings with them up there. Did some tree cutting and stuff like that, and in the Huntsville area when they got hit by a tornado. Um, the What also I've been doing is every Remembrance Day and that I've talked to schools and stuff. The historic center, talking to schools about my history in the military.
Sure.
Um, so do that public speaking. But after the Invictus Games, I started fundraising for service dogs.
Wow.
I managed to, on my own.
Through which organization?
Well, at first, I want to raise money to pay for a service dog, and I started contacting service dog companies. This is in 2017, and at that time there wasn't that many companies up here. But I did learn a lot about the industry and the business of service dogs. And I actually got another veteran, a teammate of mine, a service dog from a company down in the States.
Okay.
Do you
know who Rob Lalonde is?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I served with him.
Yeah. So that was my first dog I personally paid for and from fundraising and gave to a veteran. So I'm very, that.
Dude, amazing.
So, I do have a service dog of my own, but I ride motorcycles. I belong to the Canadian Veterans Motorcycle Club.
Have you ever participated in the Rolling Barrage?
Yes, a few times.
Have you done the full pull? How far?
No, not the full pull. Not the full pull.
How far west have you gone?
Just up to Sudbury.
Oh,
I've usually met them here and just escort them up to Sudbury, and I turn around.
I skipped it last year because I had to, but I go most years. I'll be hopping on. I'm close to Stettler, and they do a lunch stop there the last couple of years. So I'll be hopping on at Stettler, and then I'll probably go to the middle of BC, maybe to the coast, then come back.
My motorcycle club, the Central Ontario chapter, the veteran I gave the service dog to, she joined. She rides too, and she joined and found out that everybody found out I'm the one that raised money for that dog. So ever since then, we do a charity ride every year for service dogs. And that goes to Veterans Elite Canine, which is founded by a veteran. It's a nonprofit, and all the proceeds that we've done, and this year will be our third year.
Who's the founder?
Cindy Weir.
Okay, I know that name.
Yeah. And my dog rides on the back of my motorcycle. So what better way to do a charity ride when you got the dogs leading the ride?
Yeah, Mike Root has a sidecar on his Harley.
Yeah.
And puts the goggles on Spark. And what's the new dog? Phoenix, I think.
Phoenix, yeah, I think it's Phoenix.
I think that's right.
Yeah, Callie's got her goggles on and she's in the back. We did a club ride to Newfoundland last year. So we rode all the way there to Newfoundland, and Callie made an appearance everywhere.
Did you meet Tommy Anderson in Newfoundland? Double amputee from my tour.
No, I haven't.
Oh shit, he rides, and he's got a trike, right?
Yeah,
because having both legs blown off, both legs and an eyeball. But it's a peacekeeping tour.
Oh yeah.
But it's a peacekeeping tour. God damn, Phil, I think we're about there, brother.
Okay.
Just fantastic. I appreciate so much. When I saw your iltis at the War Museum in Ottawa, and the 54 bullets or 58 or whatever it was, and then basically a shrine to Marquez-Feld, I'm like, oh my God, this is my tour.
Yeah.
This is it. You might have even been, we might have been in the exact same iltis. maybe I handed it to you. Who knows? Because as a platoon
Scott
driver,
Casey drove that Altus.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, November Company.
Yep.
Holy smokes. He drove the exact same one.
Yep.
I did not know that. Scott just moved from BC to Alberta. He's in Okotoks now. Yeah, outstanding. Well, I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, I was just talking with Phil.
There you go.
Brother, I appreciate you joining me so much. And for the audience, please share this. Please share like the sugar bear, because sharing is caring. It's important for people to know these stories of what people like Phil and myself did, what the environment was like, and what a peacekeeping tour actually is, what it entails. When we were there, we were in the middle of a genocide. They like to call it ethnic cleansing, which picks my ass every day, every time I hear it, because ethnic cleansing is a euphemism. It's just to fluff it up, because they didn't want to use the word. It's a word that they made up probably for those times. I don't think it existed before Yugoslavia. It's a made up word that means genocide, so that the politicians wouldn't get too upset, and so that people wouldn't demand more intervention than there was, which eventually happened when it became a NATO mission in '96 instead of the UN missions. But please share, because it's these stories and stories of survival that help so many other veterans get through, and a lot of people think that they're interesting as well. Phil, any closing words?
It's been a pleasure, Mark. I've listened to your podcast a few times. I really like it, and you're a commentator, so this is awesome just to be a part of it.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. And please stay on the line, Phil. You're listening to Operation Tango Romeo, the Trauma Recovery Podcast for veterans, first responders, and their families. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to support this show, share like the sugar bear, because sharing is caring, he says again.